Hello and welcome back to the channel. Today I wanted to talk about She-Hulk episode 2, but not really a review of the episode. Today I wanted to focus on the characters and some of the character moments. So if you're not familiar with what happened in this episode, let's get you caught up. Well, the quick and dirty is she loses her old job, she gets offered a new job, and she finally accepts that job by the end of the episode. And that's about all that happens. So there's not a lot to cover in the episode, but there is a lot to break down with certain characters. So, without further ado, let's get into the character of Holden Holloway. So first up is the Holden Holloway character, which is Jen's new boss, and is portrayed excellently by Steve Coulter. I honestly can't say enough about this actor. I think he's just nailing this character. Now, Mr. Holloway offers to buy Jen a drink at the previously referenced bar where she was balling on a budget, and then offers her a job. This is about 10 minutes into the show, about halfway through. And he delivers then this line, which is amazing. Now, Jen, he offers, her the job and says, take some time to think about it. Now, before he can finish that sentence, she has already accepted the job, kind of showing a little bit of desperation. Then she kind of backpedals a little bit, but she's like, oh, but I have one condition, non-negotiable, and that is I get to hire my own paralegal. And Steve Coulter, as Holden Holloway, delivers a truly epic line, which is, I truly do not care who your paralegal is. And the way this line is delivered is fantastic. I would just say it's a perfect characterization of Holden Holloway. Next up, Holloway once again has excellent lines, and I'm honestly beginning to root for this guy a little bit. And I know that honestly, Holden Holloway is supposed to be more of an antagonist and not really supposed to be a good character. He's not supposed to be one of the good guy characters, not necessarily a bad guy character, but maybe someone with a little bit of questionable ethics or morals. That's kind of what we got from the first episode, where he was at the trial, sitting at the table opposite of Jen, and was basically on the other side of that case. Holloway then gives a line, and this is right before he's getting ready to offer Jen her first case and let her know what it's going to be. And he says this: let Carrington go and tell Bob Thompson he's going to Minneapolis because he hates the cold. Just tell him. And again, the guy is maybe not being evil, but he's not being nice. First of all, he's letting someone go, just so matter-of-factly, like, Carrington's fired, so let him go. Bob Thompson, send that guy to Minneapolis. He hates it there. I really don't care. That's where he's going. Just tell him he's going there. We can see that Holloway is maybe a little indifferent to people's preferences or their personal feelings about things, and maybe he's really just all business. Next up, we have Jen not wanting to take this case. She doesn't want to take the Blonsky parole hearing, and the reason why, this is part of the same scene, she says she has a conflict of interest. But once again, Holloway, we get to see more of his character, and he nails his line again. Very matter of fact, he says, yeah, that's quite all right. And Mr. Blonsky has already signed a waiver, and this shows that Holloway is not just this 1D bad guy character. He's actually a smart guy, which, we've already kind of surmised because he's basically the head of this powerful law firm. But he continues to reinforce this with little things like his demeanor, which is always basically calm, cool, collected. Like, he is absolutely in control, and he knows it, and he's not concerned at all. And he's already on top of things. That's what we see here. Like, Jen brings up an obvious issue. I have a conflict of interest. He's already signed a waiver, so it's covered. Again, like, he's got this, right? Now, the Holloway character may just be one of the best written characters in the show. There's a lot more to him. Now, there's a little bit of mystery still. He's intelligent, and we see that. But not because some other stupid character has to jump up and cheerlead for him. Like the She-Hulk character, where her best friend basically has to jump up and cheerlead for her for some reason, and literally tell us in dialogue that she's real smart. No, Holloway doesn't have that. He doesn't need that. The writers are simply seem to be capable of actually doing their job in this case, and or at least when they want to, or maybe when they are forced to. I don't know, or maybe just when they're not being lazy. In any case, the Holloway character is interesting. He has some dimensionality, and we get to see some excellent expansion of that character. And again, Jen rebuffs his offer of the case, and then we get a very just direct reply. If you don't take the case, then you don't have a job here. Not really a threat. I mean, obviously it's a threat, but it's almost not a threat. The way it comes across is just very matter of fact. Like, this is one of the cases and one of the reasons why I brought you here. If you don't take this case, then I don't think this is going to be a fit, because these are exactly the kind of cases that you're going to be handling. So you either take this case or you're not the right person for the job. And then he finishes this up, after saying, if you don't take the case, then you don't have a job here. And he finishes that line with, at the very least, you should meet with the client first. Again, another brilliant suggestion from this guy who is clearly, there's a reason why he's running this place. And this shows that Holloway is actually very straightforward. He doesn't mince words. He's also not deceptive, really, about what he wants from people. He may be, again, somewhat morally challenged, as we kind of get from episode 1. Or, go with me here, maybe he just doesn't use social graces as an excuse to conceal what he wants. In actuality, maybe he is just not being deceptive out of a feeling or a need to feel like he's being nice, perceived nicety to others. That's social graces, right? Maybe, again, he doesn't have issues with people not liking him because he doesn't really care whether they like him or not. He has a job for them and they need to perform that task. I don't know. Like I said, I actually like this character, though. Interesting. Morris Walters, played by Mark Lynn-Baker. If you don't know who Mark Lynn-Baker is, probably his best and most well-known work is as Cousin Larry in Perfect Strangers. Absolutely love the show. Jen then has dinner with her family. Again, this scene is full of basically too many pointless family stereotypes. The dad, of course, asking lots of pointless random questions, almost like the opposite of the random fact giver dad. We have the mom who wants to set up her single daughter with basically any available bachelor. We have the socially awkward relatives. We have the underachieving relative who is being celebrated. All sorts of stuff like that. And honestly, none of those characters, there's nothing unique about them. They are just painted as stereotypes. They literally could have been just some neighbors, not even her family. It just doesn't feel authentic. There doesn't feel like there's a connection with, like she has a connection with any of them almost, really. So yeah, it takes away a lot, I think, from that. So there is a nice moment with her dad. Jen's dad, Morris Walters, uses an excuse to talk to Jen. I already talked previously about how Jen's dad was sort of like this stereotype dad character, asking random questions, talking about random things, which felt weird. And then we get this genuine moment between Jen and her dad where he uses an excuse to talk to Jen. And he asks her, that was just an excuse. How are you doing? I used that as an excuse to find out, how are you doing? He's actually very nice and genuine. And then he offers some support to Jen, telling her it's going to be okay. This isn't even the first time we've had to deal with a Hulk in the family. And you didn't destroy a city. Now, I kind of like this line and dislike it at the same time, because it kind of seems like maybe the family isn't or wasn't as nice to Bruce as they are to Jen. But don't forget that Bruce was kind of whammied by, well, not kind of, Bruce was whammied by Scarlet Witch into destroying that city.
I want to finish the plan. I want the big one.
Moving on. And then her dad follows up with a really nice line where he says, "You're still standing, and now you get to keep moving on." Fantastic. Just fantastic. It's like there's two characters here. There's this one dad character, and then there's this other dad character. And so the things that dad was saying during the scene at family dinner should have been different, or should have been nothing at all. He should have been kind of sitting back, knowingly focused on Jen, being quiet, listening to all the craziness going on around the table. And then we should have actually seen him ask Jen, hey, I got this thing. Can you help me with it? And then they go downstairs and then they have this conversation. That would have been so much more impactful. Finally, the third character that I wanted to check in on is Emil Blonsky, aka Abomination, played by Tim Roth. Again, just a fantastic actor, and I think he nails this character too. Again, this is a character where we're getting, a 3D character from the beginning. He seems very complex but not altogether straightforward. Maybe Polanski character is interesting. He has this quote about 7 soulmates that I met through the prison pen pal program that I want to start a new life with. So that's sort of his motivation for wanting to get paroled. And it almost kind of flies under the table. The way he says it, just so matter-of-factly, you almost don't notice it. And then you're like, wait, what did he say? Like, what is that all about? And you want to know more, but we don't get more. So maybe we will in the future. Then he talks about the elephant in the room. Hey, let's get this out of the way. I attacked your cousin Bruce, right? And again, the best characters are supposed to be these, quote, evil men, but they're the only ones that have any dimension to them in this whole show so far. We get some discussion about the super soldier serum that basically caused him to act the way he did. And then we get a nice contrast that I really liked, and where Emil Blonsky's Abomination is talking about how, he thought he was getting this super soldier serum and that he thought he was going to be Captain Bloody America. And instead, now he's locked up, and the guy that he was sent after is out free and is revered as some kind of superhero. So the tables have completely turned, and he's like, how is that fair? Like, I was sent to do a job and given this crazy experimental super soldier serum, and now I'm locked up, and the guy I was after is actually free and, quote, a hero. And it's a good point. Anyway, so another little bit of actually good writing in this basically horrific show. And finally, we see Jen kind of check in with her cousin Bruce at the very end of the show, and it kind of gives us a sense like maybe she does care for him after all, but not completely. She's talking to him about the job, that she's already basically made up her mind that she wants to accept the job, so it's almost like she's trying to convince him, and explain to him why she's taking the job. Now, she is trying to explain to him as a courtesy to kind of not hurt his feelings. She basically doesn't want Bruce to see the evening news and see that she is suddenly representing Abomination, the guy that attacked Bruce. So maybe there's a little bit of development of character there for Jen. We'll see. So that's the character moments that were actually decent from She-Hulk season 1 episode 2, and there's not a lot. Most of this episode, which is extremely short, is really not good, and there's not a lot of character development even in our main character, our protagonist. Again, she was really a terrible, horrible person to her cousin, which she still hasn't, during episode 1, which she still has not apologized for, and they still haven't corrected those issues, in my opinion. The show, on the whole, is not great. I would give it maybe a 2 or a 3 out of 5. It's slightly better than the first episode, simply because we actually get some dimensionality to some of the characters. Overall, not a lot happens. There's not a lot of character growth in our protagonist. So let me know what you think in the comments below. What did you think of the character analysis of the few decent characters in this show? What are your thoughts on Holden Holloway? What are your thoughts on Emil Blonsky? In the meantime, if you want to continue to smash a narrative, then smash the like, subscribe, and share buttons, and I will see you in the next video. Have a great day.